Welcome back to the Boys and Ball podcast. If you like the pod, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's go, boys. The Sweet 16 is here. We got our matchups. Let's just jump straight into it. In the South, we're starting it hot. Alabama, San Diego State. Tootie, what happens in this game?
I think San Diego State puts up a good fight. They've shown that they beat a good Furman team pretty handily, and their first round matchup was pretty much a walkthrough. So I like San Diego State to give Alabama a tough time, but I think Alabama squeaks it by in the end, probably winning 8 to 10 points.
I agree with that. I think San Diego State's going to put up a fight here. We talked about this over the last couple podcasts, but San Diego State has that 9-10 man rotation. It's tough to play against once you get to March when a team has, legitimately 9 or 10 guys they can play and you don't have that production loss. I mean they play well as a team. They're all seniors. They're playing for everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Alabama squeaks by.
I think the Mountain West's luck runs out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so too.
they won enough games for one bracket.
They usually don't have a lot of success in the tournament
No,
either.
no, yeah, no.
Other than Nevada went on a run to the Sweet 16, I think like a couple of years ago, and they played Loyola Chicago
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
they
they lost
lost.
to Chicago, yeah, in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the other matchup in the South, Creighton, Princeton. Dan, this is your bandwagon team. What happens here?
I think Creighton just comes in, takes care of business. Like Princeton's got a couple lucky games. Like they got really lucky against Arizona, and then I think they kind of rode it into the Missouri game. But I still think Creighton's a super solid team. They're going to take care of business. They took care of business against Baylor. We're going to see them playing Alabama in the Elite Eight.
I agree with that. I think Princeton played the game of their life to get past Arizona. Missouri has been a wildly inconsistent team this year. They got past Missouri, but the run ends here. They're not getting past Creighton. Creighton has the better players at just about every position. They're taking down Princeton.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Just like you said, JT, Princeton played out of their mind against Arizona, and Missouri's been inconsistent. And really, I mean, they did look good against Missouri. They beat them. I mean,
They
felt
beat them
like
by
a 12
15,
point.
yeah.
It
That's
felt like a
yeah.
12-point game the entire time I was watching. But Creighton's been my dark horse to go to the championship game all year. I think they have one of the best starting fives in the country. You got Nemhard, Trey Alexander, Arthur Kaluma, Bailey Shireman, and then the big man. Um, it's tough to stop them, and so I think the Creighton beats Princeton handily, and looks for them to give Alabama a really tough time.
Well, we're gonna get into that right now. And that Sweet 16 matchup, we all have Alabama playing Creighton.
Mm-hmm.
How does that game go?
I think that we talked about it before the pod. I think that Creighton has an advantage at the point guard spot and the center position. You got Ryan Nemhard, playing point for Creighton, and then Kalkbrenner playing center for them. He has the size, the skill to score on anybody in the country. He's one of the best big men in the country, offensively and defensively. And then Nemhard's just playing really, really good. He plays at his own pace. He's a little smaller, but he's athletic and has a tight handle. I think that if Creighton can stay out of foul trouble, it would not surprise me if they beat Alabama.
I agree with this. I feel like this Alabama team is not winning the chip this year. And if I'm gonna have them beating anybody or being beaten by anybody, I think it's gonna have to be Creighton. I think this team they're veteran enough, they're experienced enough to be able to take on a player like Brandon Miller and get the dub.
Yeah.
So now I got the opposite because I got Bama winning my bracket for me. So I don't think I think it's a very tough game playing against Creighton. Creighton's going to be a very tough game. It'll probably be tougher than their Final Four matchup. Just gonna like you said, you're talking about how good the starting five is. It was great, and this is a very solid Creighton team. But I just don't feel that Bama falls right here.
Okay. All right, all right. Well, jump into the Midwest. This matchup, we got Houston, Miami. I really like this matchup for Houston. Marcus Sasser came back against Auburn, did his thing. Miami is a great offensive team, but defensively, they're not there. Houston's going to be able to slow them down a little bit, give them some trouble. They're going to have to work for some buckets. And on the other end, Marcus Sasser is gonna do his thing. He's gonna get 20 to 25 in this game, and Houston's gonna win by 8 to 11 points.
Okay. I think this is going to be a tougher matchup for Houston than we think. The two games I watched Miami play, really what won them the game is this late game shooting. They've just been knocking down shots left and right, especially down the stretch in comeback situations or when they have the lead to kind of put a team away. Isaiah Wong's been playing out of his mind. All their guards kind of just play really synchronized together, and then they have enough size to kind of hang with guys at Houston. But I got Houston in a really close one. I think this is going to be their first big test, just because of how Miami shoots the ball. I'm thinking really like anywhere from 6 to 2 point game finish. I think it's going to be a really good matchup.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of riding along more with Tootie, and in my feelings for this game. Like, I still think Houston's going to come out on top, but I definitely agree. They shot crazy after like the 13-minute mark in the last game against Indiana. That's where they really kind of got away from them. Like, it was 49-49, and then after that they just they never looked back. They just kept shooting the lights out of the gym, and so that's I agree too. Like, I think it's going to be a close 2-6 game to finish out, but I still got Houston coming out on top.
Okay. All right. The other matchup in the Midwest is Xavier and Texas. I think this is going to be a really good matchup. But I think Texas is more battle hardened this year. I think they're the better overall team, and I think they're going to squeak by Xavier. But I think Xavier is going to put up a really good fight game.
Oh yeah, I agree, man. I agree on the part of with Xavier. I think Xavier's going to give him a tough time in the first half, but this is a game where Texas can surprise the entire country by blowing them out. I think they have a lot more depth. They have the athletes. I think Sully Boom for Xavier is a really, really good player. He's a good point guard. He can score at that level just like Marcus Carr. But I think that the guards that Texas has, and then just the size on the in the front court is just going to be different for them to face. I know Xavier's got that big guy Nunji, but they don't want to have really other depth behind them. And losing Zach Fremantle, I think in this type of game against Texas is going to be the one where they're going to miss them, because their previous games they kind of got by. Kennesaw State was a smaller team. And then I'm blanking on the team.
Pitt's not a smaller team, but
and then they played Pitt. Yeah, Pitt's not small, but their big men are very, very thin and can be moved around. They're not big at that position.
That's fair.
And so they lost Federico, who's their big guy. But I just think Texas is just going to overpower this Xavier team.
Okay.
So once again, going against the grain, I actually got Xavier in this matchup. I think Xavier cleans the board a little bit better. They're a little bit better on a rebounding team. They shoot a higher percentage, and this Xavier team has looked good all season. Now, obviously, they're not getting as much recognition as Texas did throughout the season because it's a Big East team. They're still a big conference, but they're not as big as Texas playing in the Big 12. But yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I think when it comes down towards the end of the game, I think you're gonna see Xavier be able to pull away. I think it's gonna be a close, like a single shot, one possession game. But other than that, that's what I got for that. I got Xavier,
Okay.
tough game.
Well, Dan, I'll get back to you here in a second. But so me and Tootie have Houston versus Texas in the Elite Eight. How's that game go?
Texas versus Xavier. With Texas versus Houston, I think this is just going to be a matchup where it's just two kind of titans going at each other. I think Texas, if they even play Houston, just because Miami might hit a late three, but if
Xavier might beat Texas.
if Texas has to play Houston, I think that it's going to have the X factor for Texas is going to be Timmy Allen. He's a guy who's been there, for 4 years, maybe even this is his 5th year. He's an experienced wing player. He can control the ball, control the paint. He plays, just a clean style of basketball, kind of a do-it-all. Reminds me of like Leaky Black from the North Carolina team last year, but more of a playmaker. He's got to be big in this game, just as a senior and as a leader, for them to kind of beat Houston. But, other than that, if Texas isn't on their A game, I think Houston can beat them.
Okay. I think Houston gets the win. I think the way they play defense with, Jawan Roberts, Jamal Sheed, Marcus Sasser, all these dudes play their hearts out on defense. I think they're going to give any team they play trouble. And on the opposite end, you got a guy, like I keep saying, Marcus Sasser, who can get a bucket whenever you need one. He is that guy in college basketball.
Yeah, don't forget about Jarace Walker.
Yeah, but I'm taking Houston. I think the Miami game is going to be a closer game than the Texas game will be.
All
right. Dan, what is your Xavier Houston pick?
All right. Like you guys, I still got Houston winning this matchup against Xavier. I think this is, it's still going to be a very close game, but I think Houston's defense is ultimately what's going to win them for it. Like that Houston team is just, they played crazy defense all year round, and I don't know if Xavier's really faced any pressure like that this season, and I don't think that Xavier's, offense is going to be able to outscore the pressure that Houston's defense is going to be able to put on them. And I think they're going to put the squeeze on and slow Xavier down enough where they just can't compete in the matchup.
Boys, the East. We got. We're gonna skip this one. We'll come back to that one. We got Kansas State, Michigan State in the bottom. Dan, what happens in this game?
I like K-State in this matchup. They're not who I had picked to be here. I had Kentucky being here, but since K-State did handily beat Kentucky, I'm thinking K-State again. I think they're playing super scrappy. They're going to be a tough team to play against. Now, Michigan, they played, they kept Marquette out of that game. We watched it. But, I don't know if Michigan's shooting and, their coaching is going to be able to, upset Kansas State here. So I'm taking Kansas State, and I think it's going to be a 6-point game.
Okay. I really struggle with this matchup because, I think Kansas State's going to win this game. I don't trust this Michigan State team. I know Tom Izzo is crazy in the tournament. He does his thing. If they don't lose in the first round, they generally go pretty far. But this Michigan State team, their metrics are they're top 30 in offense and defense. They're a team that you look at and you go, they feasibly could go to the championship game in like the Ken Palm stats. Like they are just on that line of being a team that statistically could be one of the teams to win the tournament. But I just don't trust this team. I think they're inconsistent, and I have to go with my gut and say Kansas State.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something about Tom Izzo and just the way Michigan State's been playing that I'm just kind of riding the Spartans right now. I think they can take out Kansas State, and I think they will lose in the Elite Eight. But I think Michigan State's just playing really good basketball. This is a team that, I'll be honest, I didn't really follow that much during this year, and I really didn't think they were going to win their first game in the tournament. And they're just playing really, really well together. It seems like the guys really like Tom Izzo and really want to play for him. And that's something that I think he's not necessarily lacked in the recent years, but this team especially seems the most united. And we talked about before the pod about, the shooting that happened in Michigan State and stuff, and how, that team started playing better after that. So I think that, Kansas State seems like the hot team, the flashy team to have with Marquise Knoll and Keontae Johnson. But I just like Michigan State here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the other thing that gets me too is I love Keontae Johnson's story. Collapsed on the court at Florida,
Mhm.
could have cashed in on the NCAA's the fund and gotten millions of dollars, and instead said, no, I'll leave Florida because he wasn't going to be able to play at Florida anymore uh, because of liability reasons. Leaves Florida, goes to Kansas State, and is having himself a year. I
Mhm.
love the story, and I just want to see it continue.
Yeah.
The next matchup, Tennessee is taking on FAU. Tootie, take this one away.
Oh, I get to go first.
Of course you
Oh
do. This
man.
is your team.
Yeah. So for all of our loyal listeners, uh, I've been riding this team for a while, boys, and look where we are. Sweet 16. I thought that we were. I thought the Owls were going to be playing Duke, but Tennessee is just fine. In this matchup, this is obviously going to be their toughest test. I mean, they played a really, a good Memphis team that just won, the American Conference, and then they played Fairleigh Dickinson, who just beat Purdue. Um, but the thing with FAU is that they have the best. I believe that they have some of the best guard rotations in the country. You got Elijah Martin, Nick Boyd, Bryson Greenlee, and then their best player, John L. Davis. I just think that the guard play from FAU on the offensive side and defensive side is such a tear for some teams. And they played two teams that are guard heavy when Fairleigh Dickinson and Memphis. So it was kind of a difficult matchup. And obviously, they just played two teams that were hot too. Tennessee's playing well, but Tennessee also lost to Missouri in the SEC tournament. Quick little bounce. And that's a team
Yeah.
that's tiny and got blown out, in my eyes, to Princeton. I mean, I bet on that game, and they just didn't have a chance. I think FAU, on paper, it looks like this is just a blowout game for Tennessee. I bet the whole country's taking Tennessee, but I might be hammering FAU money line because I think this is a team that they can kind of sneak up on Tennessee, outshoot them, guard them on the perimeter really well, and they have a big guy down low that can compete, with anybody in the SEC at 7-2. So I really like the Owls here, and I love them in the Elite Eight as well.
Okay. This is a tough one for me because I look at this matchup and in my head I only see this game going one of two ways. Either Tennessee's defense isn't enough to stop FAU, FAU gets a lead and runs away with the game, or Tennessee's defense slows down FAU and we go down to the wire. The game's decided in the last 30 seconds. And I don't know. I don't know if I trust Tennessee enough. They've been again, keep talking about consistency. They've been too inconsistent offensively throughout the year for me to think that if this defense doesn't play lights out, they can win this game. So I'm gonna have to ride with the Owls as well in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm agree with you, boys. I think FAU is a wildly underrated team, especially in this tournament. And I kind of have that same feeling where it's like everyone's just like, oh, Tennessee is a better team than their SEC team. Let's just move on to the next round. But I definitely JT's taught me a lot about college basketball this year, and I can kind of I see where he's coming from when he's talking about Tennessee, like they're a great defensive team, but like they just go in these huge stretches where they don't score any points. And like we saw in the Duke game, yeah, now Tennessee did take away, but they extend the lead to 8-9 points, and then then they don't score anything. They let Duke go on a run, bring it back to within two, and then they gotta try to fire up the offense again. It was just there's just big stretches in that game, and I don't see FAU coming off the gas pedal, kind of like how it felt Duke did at times. And so, I'm going to take, FAU's offense to, just outscore the inconsistency of Tennessee's offense in this matchup.
Okay. All right. So we all have, well, not necessarily. Dan, you had Kansas State, right? So we'll talk
Yeah,
that matchup
I
first.
kissed
Kansas
it.
State, FAU. How are you feeling about this matchup, Dan?
Oh, man. I don't know. So that's show for this is because this is anyone who I've even predicted to be in this game. So it's completely new territory for me to think. But I think this is where FAU stops. Like I don't think they go past the game. I think K State's going to win this game, and I think it's going to come down to you know Kansas State being the more physical team, and I think they're going to get a good win against Michigan State, and they're going to take that into the game against FAU. And because Kansas State can score, they play pretty good defense, and I had them going on to the Final Four.
Okay. I I think in that matchup, whether it's Kansas State or Michigan State coming out, I think this is where FAU's run ends. I like this team. I can't see this team. I could see them making it to the Final Four. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Michigan State or Kansas State take them down, and I think Marquise uh, Noel is gonna go crazy in that game. I think he's gonna go for like 25 and upset FAU. Dude,
Dang.
Now, Toots,
talk,
we already know you
dude,
have the opposite
dude,
opinion.
yeah. Talk
Explain to
talk
us.
your FAU Michigan State matchup that you have in this game.
And
Okay.
tell us how FAU is going to win and blow them out. Yeah, come on, let's hear
Okay.
it.
I would like to touch on both because like
Yeah, go ahead.
I disagree with Kansas State beating them.
Of course you do. But
So okay, so with Michigan State, I think it's two teams that are just playing really, really well. And I'm just going to revert back to the same thing: is the guard play is just different. And something that I was going to mention about Sweet 16 matchup against Tennessee. Tennessee has not been a good shooting team this entire year. I'm not sure how Michigan State's been shooting the ball, but FAU has been a great shooting team this entire year, and they get up a lot of threes. They get up just a lot of shots in general, and they attack the basket. They kick out, open looks. They weren't making a lot of shots against Fairleigh Dickinson. Now they made them down the stretch when they needed to. And then against Memphis, I mean, they couldn't buy a bucket, and they somehow won that game in the end. So there's a lot of resiliency. There's a lot of experience on this team. And I think if they haven't shot that well in the tournament just yet, getting this break, right? Getting this break period where they, have a couple days off, they get to be in the gym. I follow them on Twitter and stuff. I see, they're getting in their practices. And I think it's really important for a shooting team to kind of have that break, come back, recollect. And, I think if they shoot the ball against Tennessee well, then again, the Elite Eight, that's just 2 days later.
Yeah.
I think Kansas State and Michigan State are honestly better matchups for them than Tennessee is. So, boys, I got an FAU in my Final Four.
Yeah.
I really think that Dusty May has a really good team this year. I got the Owls.
Okay. All right. The last side of the bracket here, the West. The first matchup we have Arkansas, UConn. Dan, what do you got here? What you got for me?
I don't want to say it, but I think I'm going to have to take UConn in this matchup. And I don't know. I think Arkansas they played a really good game against Kansas, and I don't see them repeating that performance, and I feel like they just got a couple of they got a couple lucky shots that to secure the bag. But this UConn team's been playing hot. They been working against St. Mary's, who's a super good defensive team. They still scored 70 on them and held St. Mary's to 55. I feel just coming into this game that they're gonna strap up and shoot the gym out.
Okay. I think this game I think UConn wins, but I do not think this is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a close one. Honestly, I have UConn going to the Final Four, but I think the next two games are not going to be fun. They're going to have to battle scratch claw every second of these games to get the win. And I think they're just the better team. They're going to get past Arkansas. So I think they're gonna get by in the end. It's gonna be a close game though. Maybe a 4 or 5 point win.
Like, this is going to be a tough matchup for UConn. This is a type of Arkansas team where you do have to scratch and claw and beat them up to even try to have the advantage. But Dan Hurley, I think it's Dan Hurley. He coaches with a lot of resiliency, a lot of like, let's get up in their face, let's play some basketball. That's how his dad coaches. That's how Bobby Hurley coaches. It runs in the family. That's just their New York background. I think in this game, UConn, kind of gets to show the country, where they can punch somebody in the mouth. Arkansas is a really good team, and it's going to really be based on two players on either side. I got Jordan Walsh for Arkansas, 6'8", small forward, power forward, very long, lanky, and athletic. He's a first-round pick type of guy, maybe late or early second round. He's just their glue guy. He had a couple big shots in the last game, and the thing with Arkansas is that he's got a good team around him, but he's kind of their guy who they stick on the other team's best player, and he's a guy who comes up with the big rebounds at the end of the game and that has open opportunities because he isn't a prolific scorer down the stretch. So they're going to rely on him a lot. And then, but anyways, yeah. So Andre Jackson, he's their main guy. He's their glue guy. He has like a 45-inch vertical at 6'6", 6'5". He's the type of dude who is the reason why I think UConn goes to the Final Four. He can spring over any player on a rebound. He's a really good defensive player. He guards the best player on the team, whether it's a guard or a four. Obviously, he's not going to guard the center position, but he is that type of dude where he's getting up in you the whole entire game. And if UConn turns you over, you best believe he's outrunning every single person towards the rim, and he's getting easy dunks. UConn's a scary team. So my conclusion, I got UConn going to the Elite Eight and then the Final Four.
Okay. The next matchup, Gonzaga UCLA. I think my take on this is Gonzaga has struggled defensively, but they're one of the best offensive teams in college basketball. They're up there with Miami. And in the end, the big defensive players for UConn are going to have to show up. And unfortunately for them, they lost one before this tournament even started. And I think Gonzaga squeaks by UCLA in like an 81-73 win.
No, I agree. I'm glad you mentioned that about UCLA. I just think I want to pick UCLA in this. I think they are overall a better team than Gonzaga. Even with the injury, I think they could still beat Gonzaga, but when you lose a guy like Jalen Clark, who's considered the best perimeter defender in the country, and he started to score the ball well, I think he was averaging 15 a game. That's just a massive loss, and this is where it shows when you play a Titan, another Titan like Gonzaga. Yeah. So I can't see UCLA winning.
Yeah, for me too. I think they skated by last round. They barely beat Northwestern, and this is a Northwestern team that had a good year for most of the year and did not finish the year strong.
Mm-hmm.
In regular season play, didn't do great in the Big Ten tournament, and then came in and they beat a Boise State team, but
they should have beat that Boise State team.
They should have beat that Boise State team. I think I took that upset, but is what it is.
You gotta sometimes.
You gotta pick some upsets for content sometimes. I mean, look at
Bruce. I picked Northwestern.
This is not a Northwestern team that was going to go farther than the second round. That was kind of their limit. So for the fact that they barely beat them, that really worries me. And I think Gonzaga,
yeah, I got Gonzaga.
Damn,
I got Gonzaga as well, boss. Gonzaga is one of my Final Four teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we all got the Zags. We all got UConn. Gonzaga, UConn, Elite Eight. Tootie, break it down for me.
I like UConn. I think that whenever Drew Timme and really that entire Gonzaga team, Julian Strother included, because he showed it last year, whenever they play against these athletic, kind of bully ball type of teams,
They struggle.
They just struggle and they don't look good. St. Mary's beat them at home because St. Mary's was playing physical, getting up in their grill and pushing people around. And they don't like that. I think Andre Jackson would be probably the most athletic human being to ever go to Gonzaga. So there's not a single person on Gonzaga's team that can keep up with him. And he's not even a scorer. Adam Sanogo, I think him versus Timmy is going to be the matchup of the night. There's two centers going at it. But Sanogo, he's the type of guy that if he gets hot, he's going to be, playing that kind of bully ball style. And not that Timmy can't do that, but Sanogo's a lot better defender than Timmy. And that's going to be the X factor towards the stretch.
It's a lot more athletic, too.
Yeah, just protecting the rim. And I just don't think Gonzaga can protect the rim. And they're really not that great of a perimeter defensive team. So I got UConn.
Yeah. All right. Well, boys.
Whoa. I want to talk about the matchup, too.
I know, Dan. No, you don't get to talk about it because your take is bad.
You're just mad because I didn't pick UConn.
No. Yeah, that is the reason.
I just like FAU winning it all. All
right, calm down, Tootie.
Okay, calm down. And we're done here.
It's going to be great when they keep on winning.
Look, I'll be happy for you, but I'm tired of you spitting this nonsense.
Hey, what was the team you like, JT? North Texas?
What do you mean?
Didn't you like North Texas?
I mean, I like North Texas.
Earlier in the year? But you said that they were going to beat FAU.
I said UAB.
Well, North
don't
Texas
come at me
is
like
in
that.
the NIT.
Yeah. Happens.
FAU's in the Sweet 16, baby.
Yeah. But they're not going to be in the championship game. Dan, give me your bad take.
No, because now I'm upset.
Give it to me.
Okay. Well, if you insist. So I have Gonzaga winning. I just, I think with this getting this far in the tournament, it's new territory for this UConn team. It's new territory for Dan Hurley. He's never been past the second round. And I think, this Gonzaga team, they're crazy on offense. They're not the best defensive team. They, like you said, they've struggled defensively this year. But I just see that, that number 2 overall offense, out dominating UConn. And, I think UConn makes them work for it. Like, I'm not going to say, it's going to be a walk in the park for Gonzaga to get to the Final Four. Like, I think when they play UConn, that's going to be a close game. But I think, come down the stretch, Drew Timme is going to put up some points. Like, he's going to, help propel Gonzaga to that win. And I got him squeaking by with, a 5-point win.
Ooh.
I see, Dan, here's why your take is bad. You said that number 1 offense was going to take down UConn.
I said number 2.
Number 2, sorry. Okay. The number 2 offense was going to take down UConn. Are we not going to act like UConn is top 15 in both offense and defense?
I don't think UConn's top 15 in offense.
Yes, they are. I believe they're 11 or 12, but they're top 15 in both offense and defense.
UConn is 39th in offense.
Not according to the Ken Palm rankings that I looked at last night.
Not according to the ESPN stats that I'm looking at.
Okay, well, they're wrong. They're wrong, and I don't care about your take because UConn's winning this game and UConn is going to the Final Four.
You're just mad because you're wrong. But JT, take us out of here.
Wrong, Dan. I will
look
never
up FAU's.
No one cares about FAU.
All right, and on that note,
look up the Owls for me.
Okay, so Dan, can you look up the Owls? Oh, this has been the Boys and Ball podcast. If you like the pod, hit the like button, subscribe. Bow.